Why is it called a prison?
It's not a joke, it's a reality.
It's actually hard to move the data.
The blockchain's obviously not an answer here.
What is the specifics of working with the cloud for IoT providers?
I like it a lot.
Right. Hi, everybody. This is the usual podcast done by Staex, and this is
Ivan.
and Alexandra. So yes, today for us, you're going to see it a little bit later. For us, it's the last podcast of the year. So we are in still festive mood. We are preparing to welcome the 2024. So you're watching this in 2024, so greetings from 2023. So today we wanted to cover a very interesting topic that we are truly discussing a lot inside our company, and we think that it's also the fundamental philosophy of how systems can be done. And we actually chosen a very nice article that has been published by the Wired magazine on the 3rd of August this summer by Gregory Barber, and the topic is "The Cloud is a Prison. Can the local first software movement set us free?" I think that's a really cool title.
I like it a lot.
Right. Tell me more. Why do you like it?
Let me start. Yeah, from the cloud. So basically, cloud is someone else's computer, which means that your data and especially your data, because businesses are really worried about their data. Your data is stored on someone else's computer, in which hopefully resides in a secure data center, hopefully in your country. But definitely, it can reside anywhere in any other country even, and this is quite unusual for businesses to trust, to give so much trust to these cloud providers, especially for IoT businesses, because they also need to trust like the physical environment, physical security, etc. And local first movement, which started by Local First Manifesto some years ago, plans to balance this problem and plans to make cloud only like one of the options to actually use services for your business.
All right. What is it? Because you said especially for IoT providers, maybe you can unfold it a little bit more. You said they have to trust physical security. What do you mean by this? Like, what is the specifics of working with the cloud for IoT providers with this regard?
IoT companies deal with physical security. What does it mean? It means that they deploy their software on the devices. Let's take, for example, vacuum cleaners, robots, of course. So they deploy their firmware on robots. They update their firmware, and they need to protect from physical attacks. So the attacks that try to, for example, get access to the camera of this robot by some third parties. I don't know how third parties came to your home and why they need
just an example.
Yeah, why they need
crazy example.
And why they need access to the cameras, but this is possible. And I was fascinated by when I learned that vacuum cleaner robots have almost up-to-date security. So they encrypt their firmware, they sign their firmware, they use full disk encryption, they use secure boot, etc., etc. So mostly like 90% of good practices are used even for vacuum cleaners.
Right. And actually the example that you made is actually very interesting, because while I was at the university, inside my group, there was one of my colleagues managed to access the camera of the smart TV. I mean, it was a special model with a special system version.
Mhm.
But nevertheless, to showcase that you could actually film what was happening inside your place, your home, without even turning on the light. So actually, it's not such a crazy use case, because now I'm giving you the attack vector for your vacuum cleaner attack, that somebody wants to actually see when you're at home, where do you maybe put your things, and things like this. So this is all not so crazy, and this can actually happen.
Sure, and another problem is that all these images are sent to the vacuum cleaner manufacturer, yeah, or
Yeah.
reseller, or whoever manages the firmware updates. And this is another problem. Of course, it is sent over secure channels, hopefully, but still the company has access to your, basically to your home. They know everything in this home, and some um, evil employees might use it for uh, basically for bad things.
Right. And so just to summarize about the physical security of the IoT manufacturers when they work with clouds, so you say there is additional level of trust, of course, that they have to bring when they work with cloud providers, and also, I guess, responsibility, right? Because if something happens to the cloud, of course you have shared responsibility, because you can say, well, this is the cloud provider that we're working with, but by the end of the day, it's the damage of the brand that is happening, and how hard it is to build up the brand trust, and that they can actually deliver secure solutions that can take years later on.
Of course, and some brands might cease to exist, and you will have your vacuum cleaner. I don't know what it will do.
Go crazy. It will go crazy.
Yeah, it might go crazy. You might just stop working
Right.
without updates.
It's actually interesting. So we were able to map it back to the problem of every individual, because actually, yes, if you have kind of no party responsible for for the devices that are in the field, then it might become a problem. I have another question, because you mentioned the manifesto, and you can cover it a little bit in case someone has not read it yet, about this local first manifesto that you mentioned.
Well, I haven't read it myself, but I read a few articles that mentioned this manifesto, and basically the idea is to make all applications and all services that otherwise cloud-based local first. What does it mean? Local first means that all updates, this manifesto and local first movement is mostly about the data. And this is a good thing, because business actually cares about the data. So local first means that all the updates are made local first, but when the network is available, they synchronize their state to some other machine. This machine can be in the cloud, or it can be on your premises. Then you need a VPN to synchronize, obviously. Or it can be maybe your laptop even.
And how does if the update is done local first, how does the software how does the image get to the device?
These updates are for the data. These are not like firmware updates or software updates. One example that they use in most articles is the document writing software, something like Google Docs, where you can update the document collaboratively with other people. This creates a lot of problems. Mostly this movement is tightly coupled to the CRDTs. These are special data types which provide consistency when several updates to the same piece of data is made. So if you edit the same paragraph or even the same word, they provide you with some conflict resolution for this specific case. And this is the main problem of local first software. You need to find application specific or domain specific conflict resolution algorithm for merging to merge the data.
Right.
Otherwise, you are doomed. Because
That's true. I mean, I guess in the blockchain space there were a lot of ideas around, solving the data consistency, but also the experiences that we made. It's actually because also blockchain is very application specific, which is very good for some type of transactions, but you also can put everything in there. So also, I guess right now for the industry, it's not the only answer that you just use whatever Bitcoin for for everything. It's also a little bit of an overkill.
I would say blockchain is a parallel technology here. People right now struggle with the performance of CRDTs, of this merging algorithm. And blockchains are obviously not an answer here because
Yeah.
they have the same struggle, but at a different scale. This is one thing, and actually conflict resolution algorithms, they are somewhat similar to consensus algorithms that are used in blockchain. Similar from, let's say, computer science standpoint, maybe even mathematical standpoint, but otherwise they're quite different because blockchain is like creating your own, I don't know, like state.
Right.
Creating your country, creating your currency, and obviously many algorithms, consensus algorithms are similar to like voting, something what citizens usually do to govern the to elect the leaders of the country. And in CRDTs, the algorithms are usually very technical, and they are based on some mathematical concepts which are really specific to the particular application that you try to synchronize.
Can you link it a little bit to the vacuum cleaner example, and if possible, like this CRDT, like because we were talking about like you edit the document and then you have it easier to do within the cloud environment, because then you have the problem of conflict resolution if you do it local first. Maybe you can make a little example how this would work inside the vacuum cleaner.
Sure. Actually, I don't know any examples of such local first applications for vacuum cleaner, but I assume that vacuum cleaners send some telemetry data, and for example, the internet is not available. So what should they do? They should collect the telemetry locally. Then when the network recovers, they need to send the updates to the server. And these updates should be incremental, so there should be a way to track which records were actually sent to the server and send only the new records. And the server obviously need to report back if it's correct or not.
Right, so just to cover maybe, because we also started to talk about the local first with regard to IoTs, I guess, just to summarize what you said, because we also covered it in other parts of the podcast, but the IoT really struggle with this, connectivity loss and all these problems, because if we talk about local first for maybe other types of services, this is kind of another topic, but exactly with regard to IoT, you always get this packet loss and all these things, and then you get different challenges with regard to local first approach, which actually can solve a lot of IoT, I guess, issues, right? The local first for IoT applications.
If you want to make everything non-centralized, yes, this is a good idea. Of course, the vacuum cleaner will have a very small amount of data, only the recent data, and the server will have a huge backlog of data.
Yeah. Can we go a little bit deeper? Because when we talk about local first, right? And I'm not a fan always from binary states, like either it's all cloud or it's all local first, right? Maybe you can make an example, because I do think that, even if we go to local first in the future, there will be some transition towards local first systems. What does it which systems, from your experience and your kind of perception of how to build an IoT app, can be local first, because you can solve this better if you run them directly on the machine, but which should still stay in the cloud? Like, let's talk a little bit about this architecture.
I think one example could be the image recognition from the camera. Obviously, you need to do this on your device because sending the 4K video stream is too expensive.
Yes.
Not really efficient. And that you will if you need to make decisions fast, you obviously need to do this locally. But I don't know if it's local first or not. It's mostly like, I think it's called like edge computing.
Right.
It falls into this category, but yeah, sure, it's like, yeah, maybe it's not local first, like 100%.
I understand. So local first is like really when you start by local services, and edge computing is just like when you pre-process something.
Yeah, before sending to the cloud.
All right, so maybe I also had a question because he says in the article it is a prison. Cloud is a prison. I mean, it's a very strong sentence.
Of course.
Why is it called a prison?
It's prison for your data. If you want to get your data from, let's say, some software as a service, sometimes you can do this, sometimes you can't. So sometimes it's not easy. You just download a zip file of whatever format they use.
Right.
Of course, you can enforce GDPR or the other data privacy laws if you happen to be in Europe. But again, they in the worst case, they will dump the information from the database in whatever format they use and send it to you, just to comply with this law.
Interesting. I mean, that was also a surprise for me when I started my career and we were building IoT applications. And when I learned that when you get a data into a cloud, I mean, we kind of all digital natives and you kind of think everything is connected on the internet. And when I learned that it's actually hard to move the data, like we really needed to build a connector between like one cloud and the other one. And it seemed easier just to copy on USB stick. I'm joking, of course, but like it took us, I don't know, like 6 months to build this.
No, it's not a joke, it's reality. When Dropbox, well, I have read this article long ago, Dropbox moved from the cloud to their own data centers. I think they moved because they just like counted how much they pay and then compared to how much will their own data center costs, and then they had a problem of moving the data, and they solved it by using hard drives. They copied 2 hard drives, do everything very secure, I hope.
That's the reality.
With full disk encryption, and just ordered several trucks of these hard drives and moved their data, and it's all was transparent to the users. No one knew this. I haven't knew this before reading the article. Yeah, it's a real problem.
Wow, they've been real trucks with hard drives moving on the street.
Yes.
This is interesting. Okay, this is yeah. So I guess it is really a prison. I mean, I guess when you just start developing an app, of course, just for a business to scale, it makes sense to use cloud environment, but actually it's connected to a lot of later problems for your business that you kind of better think through when you plan the cloud. Also, tell me a little bit more about costs. I guess also cost topic is covered in this article, because for some businesses the cost of the services, I mean, you also need experts to configure your services really right. And this happens a lot. I know it in businesses that it's not configured right, and then the costs are just exploding. And even right now, just to decide which service you would use, right? Either it's Microsoft, Amazon. You need an expert that will count the cost of your service on this cloud environment. I mean, it's kind of became very complex, I guess.
The general rule, like there are 2 models. For example, you use open source and you use you hire people to actually configure open source product, which is alternative to the cloud. You run it on your premises, etc., etc. With this approach, you will have big upfront costs because you need to configure this for the first time. But then the cost of maintaining the system will be lower. So you will have this tail distribution. And with cloud, it's quite different. It's the inverse actually. You will have very little cost to onboard because they like onboarding you, of course. And but after that, your data is tied to the cloud, and you are tied to the whatever cloud provider come with the price, with the price that cloud provider defines.
That's
And it's not easy to get off from the cloud to the, let's say, open source to the first approach, because it has this upfront fee.
Yeah. Why is it so? Just to also cover it, because you said it's not easy to get off, and that's probably the vendor lock-in. That's why in the article it's also called the prison, because you know. But you said interesting thing, like you said it's not easy to move, because can you cover this a little bit? Because in the beginning the promise was everything is the same, and you can literally, you know, move easily everything. And how did we end up there? That it's like, it frustrates me that, you know, it's hard to actually move data on the internet. Like, that's crazy if you think of it.
I don't think it's crazy. It's crazy that people. I think we move too fast. This is the problem, and you don't have problem with the data if you use infrastructure as a service, because you order VMs, you order containers, whatever, and you are in charge. You can install any software, you can store any data, etc., etc. If you order software as a service, then everything is done by the company that provides the service. And why people order software as a service? Because they don't want liability for something that they do not understand. They, for example, if they need a service for analytics or for data ingestion from their IoT devices, they have no idea how to configure this. And software as a service offers this solution. They maintain their servers, they maintain their software, they update their software, they protect the service from DDoS attacks, hacker attacks, whatever. And at the very least, they are liable for any damage, for any data breach, etc. So
it's also
people,
nice model, right? Like you know, they don't have responsibility, so that's like complete. But with this liability, they also have access to your data, right.
And it's not easy to move your data. So it's like you make this jump of like leap of faith, but then you can't jump back.
Right.
It's one way.
It's one way. Very cool. But also what you said, like moving too fast, and also the cloud infrastructures, you know, there are standards in a way, because some of the, as you said, virtual machines are like, you know, you can use them across different clouds. But actually then with special services, because every cloud has its own specific, you know, the more, I guess, you build services around it, the harder it gets actually to move. Because also, I guess every cloud providers, I mean, you know, they're also differentiating services and trying to win over the market, etc. So also this moment, I think, became complicated if you just like decide to move to another cloud.
For sure.
Then you have to order the trucks, etc. All right, so let us maybe then finalize our discussion today. I hope we could cover a little bit of topics. Again, this is also somewhat philosophical, because it's also about how to create apps, and it's not only technical decision, it's also strategy for the company, and you know, where liabilities reside. So it's a choice for every business owner. Maybe just as a final summary, what will be your advice to people that are, looking into local first, maybe considering, maybe also are tired of being in prison within any cloud environment? Like, what will be your last thoughts?
I would say that local first is not ready for general public because they have a lot of problems, as they say themselves, with these data types and data synchronization in general. If you could find an application that works for you, then it's probably fine. As for the cloud, well, you have to evaluate what do you want for your business. So if you want cloud provider to be liable, because you are not ready to be liable for any problems that may occur with data storage, hacker attacks, whatever, then you should probably order use the cloud. But otherwise, open source software and in general local first software and peer-to-peer software like VPNs, maybe this is an answer. Maybe I would even say that VPN is like it's the solution that in the middle between the cloud and local first, because VPN obviously do not store the data. They only transfer the data, but most of the VPNs, like modern VPNs, are peer-to-peer networks, and it's really easy to use them together with the local first applications.
Right, so it's like a remote, like through the VPN you can connect the cloud part and the local part.
Exactly.
And somehow we are back again to the VPN topic. So happy to refer you to the previous podcasts that we've done on this channel. So as usual, write your comments, maybe questions that you have. Shoot us an email if you want us to help you to go through your particular application or service and give you our maybe point of view, how we see things. So thank you so much for being with us, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you.
We at Staex help our clients to make IoT devices first-class citizens in their private networks, protect from common attacks, reduce mobile data usage while using our system, and enable audacious use cases that were not possible before. To learn more, please visit our website, staex.io.